Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head back to Northern Ireland for the first time on the channel since 2017, and this is only going to be my fourth Northern Irish craft beer review for you here on the channel, which is quite crazy actually. I didn't realise there was so few of them actually, and as far as I'm aware, this I think is the first ever Northern Irish craft beer to have been sold through Systembolaget here in Sweden, so that's another cool point about this review in my opinion. So for this one then, we are going to go to Belfast, and we're having a look at my second beer from Boundary Brewing Cooperative. So this one is called Forever Ago. It comes in at 6% ABV, and this one is a New England hazy style IPA. So yeah, fingers crossed this is a good beer. I know that the Northern Irish craft beer scene has been expanding over the last couple of years, but I've only had beers from 3 different breweries before. So I've had ones from Farmageddon, from Northbound, and then there was one from these guys. So the last beer that I reviewed from these guys was called Gift, and it was an Imperial Stout, and I reviewed that, as I say, back in, I think it was June or July of 2017, so it's been a long while actually since I've had anything from Northern Ireland. I did review a couple of beers from the Republic about 2 years ago, and those were really impressive actually. There's lots of breweries from the Republic making it over here to Scandinavia now, you know, Stone Barrel, Whiplash, White Hag, Kinnegar coming over here, but as far as I can think, this is the first time I've ever seen a beer from the north make it over to Scandinavia. So yeah, as I say, pretty cool to be able to review this one for you here on the channel. Incidentally, we got this beer as part of the Tilfällig assortment through Systembolaget on the 6th of November 2020, and yeah, it should hopefully be an interesting beer. I've heard good things about this one. It seems to be well rated on Untappd and things like that, so fingers crossed this is another good Northern Irish beer. I can get a hold of the Northern Irish stuff fairly easily through the likes of you know, Valhalla's Goat and The Cave and stuff like that in Glasgow, so the next time I'm home I will make an effort to get a couple more Northern Irish beers and get those reviewed for you on the channel. I will need to see about getting a few from the Republic as well again, and getting those reviewed for you. The Irish beer scene for the whole island is expanding a hell of a lot actually, and there's some really nice stuff over there these days. And for a long time, even in Scotland, it was very difficult to get a hold of Irish beer, but that certainly is not the case anymore. It is pretty damn easily actually. So yeah, if you get the chance to try some Irish beers either from the north or from the Republic, you are in for a bit of a treat actually. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer. My first Northern Irish review in 3 years. Quite excited for this one. So yeah, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Boundary Brewing Cooperative before, and you will hopefully see more added to that list in the fairly near future. I've got no intention of letting it be 3 years since until my next Northern Irish beer review, but there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for the Irish beers that I've reviewed for you. That includes beers both from the north and from the Republic, and you will see that list added to hopefully very soon again. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Boundary Brewing Cooperative then, on to my brewery notes. So as I mentioned to you already, Boundary Brewing Cooperative are based in Belfast in Northern Ireland, the capital city, and they were founded by Matthew Dick back in 2014. So he was doing his PhD at the time and decided to put it on hold in order to crowdfund his own brewery after having homebrewed for a number of years. He spent a lot of time over in the States. I think it was in Reno in Nevada, as well as a bit of time out in California as well, and that was where he really kind of was exposed to the American craft beer scene, and it just kind of took hold of him. But after 5 years of living in the US, he ended up working for brewing technology company Brewbot, who are now defunct, and after numerous trips to Belgium, he decided to, he noticed a really big gap in Northern Ireland for craft beer. There just wasn't anyone really doing it at the time. So he ended up starting up a community share programme for people to invest, and he targeted £100,000 investment to get started. But after the second round of crowdfunding, he actually ended up with about £250,000 of funding, which was pretty damn impressive actually. He did that in a matter of days from what I understand. But they started brewing their beers in February of 2015 with a 400 litre brew kit, and they've been growing steadily ever since, and they've started exporting their beers now as well. They started canning their beers in 2018, just in time for their 3rd birthday, and they've added various new pieces of equipment to the brewery to increase the capacity over the years as well. They're significantly bigger than they used to be. But the brewery itself is located in the Portview Trade Centre in East Belfast, and it opens up regularly as a tap room throughout the year as well. So just keep an eye on their Facebook and Instagram pages for details of that. I don't think they've done it too much over 2020 for obvious reasons, but yeah, fingers crossed in 2021 they can do it again. I'd love to go and visit these guys at some point and maybe do a Meet the Brewery interview or something with them. That would be really cool to do one of the Northern Irish breweries as a Meet the Brewery segment. We'll need to see if we can sort that out sometime. But as of October 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced around 190 different beers according to Untappd, and like I say, they are starting to get out there a little bit more from what I understand. I know they export their beers across the EU. I think they go, in the article I read, they were going out to Japan and Switzerland as well, and I think some of them were making their way to Canada and the US too. So yeah, pretty cool actually that the Northern Irish beers are starting to get out there a little bit more. As I said, a couple of other breweries that you'll find from there, Farmageddon and Northbound are the other two that I've reviewed for you here on the channel, and in fairness, it probably is Boundary, Northbound and Farmageddon that are the ones that you're most likely to find actually. They're the ones that have a big enough volume from what I understand to actually export their beers. But like I say, the scene will have grown a hell of a lot since 2017, since I was last reviewing the beers. So if you are watching from Northern Ireland, do let me know some other breweries in the comment section below that I should be checking out. I'd love to see how the beer scene has evolved over the last couple of years and introduce some new breweries here on the channel. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Boundary Brewing Cooperative for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on. That's probably your best bet to keep up to date with what these guys are doing. And as always, you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different beers that they've done. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. So the artwork on this one is pretty impressive, and you will notice that on these cans, Boundary have some really impressive artwork on them these days. I really quite like it. The artwork on this one apparently is John Robinson designs. So yeah, looks pretty cool this one, very kind of modern and almost chic I guess you could say. But yeah, there you can see on the side of the can, there is the Boundary Brewing Company symbol. Almost reminds me a little bit of Charles Rennie Mackintosh to a degree. Well, it makes me think of that whenever I see this. But yeah, 6% New England IPA. This one, from what I understand, it's hopped with Citra and Mosaic. So yeah, 440ml can, and I think I paid 50 Swedish kroners for this. So that is a little bit over £4. I'm guessing you probably would pay about that in back home in Scotland as well. I don't know if it would be a little bit cheaper in Northern Ireland because you're not bringing it over on the boat and stuff like that. But yeah, you know, £4 for a 6% New England IPA is a pretty decent price, I think, and especially when you consider that this is an import as well. 50 kroners for this, I think, is pretty good. You would pay 45 kroners for something equivalent from, you know, OO or Stigbergets or something like that in Systembolaget. So yeah, pretty damn good actually. But yeah, without further ado then, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. My first Northern Irish beer since 2017. Just absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. So yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Like I said to you, this beer was released as part of the Tillfälligt sortiment in Systembolaget on the 6th of November 2020, and I think it was only available in a few stores actually. I had to go to Hansa in Malmö to get a hold of this one. So yeah, if you want to get this one, use the Systembolaget website and check what stores actually have this available, because it's not in the regular ones that are going out to every store, of course. But yeah, should be pretty nice. Like I say, this is, as far as I know, the first Northern Irish beer to make it to Systembolaget here in Sweden. So yeah, this one looks pretty good. Special shout out as well to Paul, the Irish craft beer guy. He was the one who supplied me with a lot of my Republic of Ireland beers quite recently, so I'm guessing he probably will watch this video at some point. And he's related to one of the owners of one of the breweries in Northern Ireland. I can't remember if it's these guys or if it is Northbound. I've got a feeling that it's Northbound, but big shout out to Paul, and thank you to him again for giving me those Irish beers a wee while back. You know, hopefully I can meet up with him again at some point when I make it home at Christmas time or something like that. But yeah, check him out on Twitter, Irish craft beer guy. And give him a follow and support. He's importing all these Scottish beers, these Irish beers into Scotland, sorry. So yeah, anyway, as you can see with this beer, it's poured a lovely, how would we describe that? That is quite a murky kind of dark looking New England IPA, this one. I would say that this looks like quite a mixed tropical fruit juice, like a blend of mango and pineapple almost. It's got a bit of the paleness of a pineapple juice, but then it's got the more kind of rich colour of a mango juice actually. You could see that this beer poured with about a finger, maybe a finger and a third of a frothy, I would say cream coloured head. That's definitely not a perfect white head on this one. There's one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head, but I would say that head has, it was very, very foamy when it came out, but it has developed to just be a little bit more kind of bumpy. But what I will say about this one is that for a 6%er, the level of haze that you're getting off of this is pretty damn good actually. If I put my fingers behind the glass there, you can see that is a pretty damn impressive level of haze from this one. So yeah, I'm really curious to see what this beer has in store for us. So nothing overly surprising about this beer in terms of the appearance, considering what style it is, but let's have a closer look at the aroma then and see how we get on. As I say, first Northern Irish beer in so long, I'm deadly curious about this. So yeah. Ooh, right, that's kind of interesting. So straight away with this one, for me, it comes across as it's got a good little, it's actually got quite a bit of balance in the malt base. I always look for the New England IPAs, whether they're more wheaty leaning or whether they're more oaty leaning, or sometimes, some of the time, they can be a little bit more kind of bready leaning. And this one actually comes across as really nicely balanced, to be honest. So yeah. So with this one, the first thing that comes out of it, I think, is the sort of bitiness of the wheat almost. You do the wheat actually has a good little bit of pungency to it in this one, and you get that around the kind of sides of the nose at the back. But if you come a little further forward on the nose, you really get a nice creamy and almost slightly sweet oaty character out of it, and it's really interesting how that is how that's balanced together. So yeah, I have to say the malty side of this beer is actually very, very nice in how it comes across in the aroma. There is a little bit of sweetness to this one as well. It does have a wee bit of that almost kind of butter candy type sweetness that you can get from New England IPAs, but it's a little bit less apparent, I think, compared to some of the other ones. In some ways it almost smells a little bit lactosey. Does this beer have lactose in it? No, it doesn't. Okay, there's just something a little bit kind of candied and milkshakey about the aroma to this one, and you know, sometimes you can get that from these kind of beers. You get a little bit of an almost candied, milkshakey sort of thing. So there is a little bit of that going on in the malt base as well. So a wee bit of that kind of butter candy, Werther's Original sort of thing. Although I would say it's a little bit more milkshakey. It did make me wonder if there was a wee bit of lactose. But yeah, the malt base for me, good little bit of bitiness from the wheat. It's a little bit kind of, it's a little bit sort of. It's got a wee bit of pungency to it, which I quite like. You do want a little bit of bitiness from your wheat, but then you've got a lovely smooth oaty creaminess, as I said as well, and some other wee things going on too. But yeah, nice malt base coming out of this one. On the hoppy side of things then, there is a wee touch of earthiness to this one, and that's the Mosaic that's going to give you that. Both of the hops in this beer are north of 12% alpha acid. I think, yeah, Citra is usually 13 to 14, and I think Mosaic is about the same, 13 to 14% alpha acid. So both of them are going to give you a good little bit of floral aromaticity, and you get that on the sides of your nose in abundance, to be honest. I wonder if there's another bittering hop in this, because it does have a wee bit of spiciness. Maybe they've used a little bit of Columbus or something like that underneath this beer. I don't think it's Chinook or anything like that, because it doesn't have the kind of resinous notes. For me, the green side of the hops with this beer are definitely more kind of floral and aromatic in my mind. So yeah, quite a nice big floral aromaticity. That sort of balances out and kind of, it works well together with the bitiness of the wheat that the beer has. But then you also get a nice bit of a lighter grassiness towards the towards the front of the nose as well. So yeah, for me the green side of the hops is mainly floral, but it's got the earthiness and the and a little bit of the grassiness that you'd expect. When you sugar the beer up, you do get a few of the kind of yeasty notes coming out of this one, so it does have a little touch of that kind of farmhousey side to it. When you sugar it up, you'll get a little bit of that kind of woody, almost slightly vegetally kind of note. You will get a little bit of that coming out of the beer, and you can smell it towards the back of the nose. But so yeah, sugar the beer up a little bit, and you will kind of notice that. I've had that actually in a few of the Gamma Brewing beers from Copenhagen recently. And this one, in fairness, it actually comes across, you know, if I was blind smelling this, not knowing what it was, I probably might be able to tell you that it's you know, I would have probably said it would be a Gamma Brewing beer actually. So that's kind of interesting. You probably might. That's bad grammar, terrible. But yeah, the green side of the beer comes across very, very nicely, I have to say. Yeah, good floral notes. The more and more I smell of it, the more floral and kind of spicy it gets. So I think there's a bit of Columbus has been used in the bittering stage of this one. As I always tell you, you know, if you add hops in the first hour of the boil, that's when you get the more kind of bitter characters out of them, and then if you add them within the last half hour, that's when you get the trade-off between bitterness and kind of flavour and aroma. It's usually a 90-minute boil for IPAs, at least with the West Coast ones. I can't say for certain with the New Englands, but I think it's a 90-minute boil again with these, and that of course is going to affect the colour of your beer as well. But yeah, caramelisation of sugars and all of that kind of thing. But yeah, on the fruity side of the beer then, it's kind of what you would expect if you know both of these hops. So you do get a little bit of a kind of pungent, a passion fruity note out of this one. That's the Citra that's giving you that. There's a bit of a kind of juicier mango coming out of it as well. Sometimes you can get softer tropical fruits from Citra. I don't get that much of it in this one. You do get some of the kind of tangerine oranges from the mosaic in the beer as well, but on the front edge of the nose it strikes me as being quite almost lemony and zesty as well. So I probably would have guessed, if I was doing it blind, that there was a bit of Centennial in this as well, because the lemony zesty characters in this one are really quite prominent actually. That's an interesting point to make about this beer for sure. So yeah, the aroma of this one is quite nice, but the more you smell of it, the more you get the tangerine oranges. But I would say the Citra is a bit more prominent in this one, in the aroma, than the mosaic is. So yeah, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of this one. And as I said, this really reminds me of some of the beers that I've had from Gamma Brewing Company in Copenhagen recently. So yeah, take a bit of time and just enjoy that before you get stuck into the taste. And that's what we're going to do now. We're going to have a taste of this one. So this one is the Forever Ago, a 6% New England IPA with Citra Mosaic from Boundary Brewing Cooperative in Belfast in Northern Ireland. Let's get stuck into this one. Sláinte, skål. Yeah, that's solid. It is absolutely solid, this. Yeah, that's very, very nicely done, I have to say. Thumbs up to Boundary Brewing Cooperative on this one. What I would say about this one, this is one of these beers that's it's very well crafted. It doesn't do anything kind of new that you wouldn't expect from the New England IPA. You taste this and it is very well done. I mean, Citra Mosaic, a lot of beers are using this combination. This is one of these beers that's really nice, really drinkable, and you can tell straight away it's well crafted. You can't really ask for much more than that. My first impression would be, is this the most adventurous beer that Boundary Brewing Cooperative have done? Probably not. They've probably got ones that are, you know, absolutely crazy. But this is a nice introduction, I think, to the brewery. This is a nice kind of sessionable New England IPA in my mind. They've probably got various double and triples and things like that they've done, as well as double and triple West Coast IPAs that are kind of crazy and bitter and stuff. This one strikes me as being one of their more kind of drinkable and easygoing New England IPAs. Again, let me know your own thoughts on that statement in the comment section below. But yeah, this strikes me as one of their more kind of regular, sort of sessionable, drinkable New England IPAs. They've done loads of these over the last couple of years from what I understand. But yeah, it's a solidly done New England IPA, this one. And at this stage, with so many brewers doing this style, you can't really ask for much more than that. But I think this is pretty damn solid. So yeah, thumbs up to Boundary Brewing Cooperative for this one. This is a good one to release for your first in Scandinavia, if it is. And yeah, it really is. Very nice and drinkable actually. Let's get the last of it into the glass. You can see, oh, head on this one. That head comes out really, really nicely. But yeah, very, very nicely done beer, this one. It does actually kind of grow a little bit in your mouth the more that you drink of it, but I will stick to that statement and say this is a very, very drinkable, easygoing New England IPA in my mind. So let's try and break down the flavour of this one then and see how we go. So straight away with this beer you get that nice white bready quality, that blankets the middle of your tongue. When you go towards the back third of your palate, you can feel the breadiness just kind of thickens up a little bit, but the breadiness that kind of blankets the tongue overall is quite crisp. But on the back third of your tongue, you do get a wee bit of the kind of wheaty thickness sitting there. The wheat, no, the wheat doesn't actually have as much bitiness as I was expecting it to from the aroma. It comes across as a lot more smooth, to be honest with you, but you can get some of those yeasty notes, that slightly farmhousey, yeasty quality that I was talking about with this one. There's a good few kind of woody notes to that beer, there's a wee touch of a kind of vegetally sort of thing to it as well, but the vegetally thing kind of really takes a back seat. It is more kind of woody rather than anything else, and that's not uncommon in these New England IPAs. Like I said, Gamma Brewing Company, quite a few of the beers I've had from them recently, I've had that, the lower alcohol ones. The higher alcohol ones tend to be leaning more towards the bitey wheat or the kind of oaty creaminess. But the notable beer that to think about when you have this kind of effect in the New England IPAs would be the Alchemist, Heady Topper. Those ones are really quite farmhousey New England IPAs. That was how the New England IPAs started, was in the farmhouse breweries. So yeah. But yeah, that you've got that kind of thing on the back third of your palate, and as you move further forward into the middle third of your palate, you can feel the thickness of the malt base just kind of goes down a little bit as you reach that middle third of your tongue. Then you've got the nice kind of smooth bready note to it. As you reach the front half of that middle third of your tongue, it's distinctly more kind of oaty and creamy in my mind. So yeah, and in the centre of the palate, you do get a wee touch. There is a wee tiny touch of that kind of butter candy sort of thing, but I really find this beer, the more that I drink of it, the more I would say it leans towards the kind of crisp, bready end of the New England IPA spectrum. The malt base on this one is pretty straight shooting, very kind of crisp and bready, little touch of oatiness at the front of that middle third of your palate, and more wheaty and smooth and slightly thicker on the back third of your palate. A few of those woody those kind of woody things from the yeast coming out as well. So yeah, pretty straight shooting malt base, and that's one of the things that really gives this beer its sessionability, a really bready leaning, white bready leaning New England IPA in my opinion. So on the hoppy side of things then, this is where it gets interesting, although the malt base is good, we shouldn't diss the malt base, yeah, we shouldn't diss the importance of a good malt base, but yeah, this one, in the back corners of the palate, you do get a nice little bit of earthiness there. That's from the mosaic. As you move further forward along the side of the tongue there, you get a little bit, you can feel the earthiness does spread forward a little bit, and you do almost get a few woody elements there as well, and it's a little touch herbal, but as you reach the front corners of the palate, you can feel the hoppy bitterness just kind of building with this one. It's nowhere near as kind of big and floral on the sides of the palate as I was expecting it to be, but you do get a nice little bit of floral aromaticity on the front corners of the palate. And then round the front curve of the palate, you get a little bit of a lighter kind of grassy sort of thing coming out of the beer. And I would say that the green side of the hops for me in the flavour, pardon me, really lean a little bit more towards that grassy part of the spectrum, which is quite nice. And I think this is a really interesting beer because it comes across very, very differently in the flavour to what I was expecting from it, from the aroma. It's a lot softer, I think, in the flavour than it was coming across in the aroma. I thought this was going to be a big floral, wheaty, bitey kind of thing, but it's basically more of a bready, grassy leaning New England IPA, which is quite interesting. But yeah, on the fruity side of things then, as I always say, the front third of your palate, that's where you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters roll their way out of the beer. If you go towards the back of that front third of your palate, you will get a wee touch of the kind of more pungenty passion fruity thing. So yeah, it's there is a wee touch of that more pungenty passion fruity thing on the back, at the very back of that front third of your palate, but as you move further forward from it, you start to get the juicier kind of mango notes there, and this beer really does start to lean towards those more tropical, kind of soft tropical notes actually. If I was blind tasting this beer, I probably would have thought there was Idaho 7 in this one, to be honest with you, because it's got a real kind of tropical complexity to it. Mincing my words in this video, bit annoying. But yeah, as you move further forward from the back of that front third of your palate, you get a juicier kind of mango-y note. You will see a few sort of apricot-y flavours kind of coming out of this one. I hesitate to say, you know, I want to say a little bit papaya. I don't think pineapple in this one. So yeah, as you move further forward, gradually you've got passion fruit, a little bit of mango, and that, I think that very quickly goes to a more apricot-y and papaya-like flavour. Then as you reach the kind of front part of that front third of your tongue, you get a wee bit more of a, you do get a little bit more of a kind of, a little bit more of an oily tangerine note coming out of the beer. Yeah, definitely. On the front half of that front third of your palate, it's definitely more oily and tangerine-y. That's the mosaic that's giving you that. And I think it finds a really good balance actually. The more and more that I drink of this, the more that the mosaic kind of builds actually. I think the citrus sort of dominates in the beginning, and then when your mouth kind of adjusts to it, you get more of the kind of slightly more oily tangerine note from the mosaic coming out of this one, which is really quite nice. On the front edge of the tongue you will notice a little bit of a kind of more citrusy, zesty kind of thing, and that for me is that's what I would have thought was Centennial. It's not quite as pungent as you would have expected if Centennial had been used, but you do just get a little bit of an almost lemony, zesty kind of quality, and I think it's Citra that's going to be that is going to be giving you that actually, come to think of it. So yeah, the kind of the way that this beer goes together is really, really nice, and this is one that definitely grows. It comes in as quite a light, almost subtle beer, but you do get more and more things coming out of it later on. But I would say, compared to other New England IPAs, this is one of the more soft and kind of subtly drinkable New England IPAs that I've had in recent times. I think that kind of sums up the flavour profile of this one quite nicely. You know, quite a bready leaning new IPA. You do get a few more grainy notes pushing out of it the further you go into the aftertaste. There's a wee bit of woodiness from the yeast, like I say, a bit of earthiness. I think this one, the earthiness from the mosaic comes out a little bit more the further you get into the flavour as well. But the green side of the hops for me really leans towards the grassy side of things, and the fruitiness, it does come across as quite soft actually, which is interesting. But yeah, Citra dominates in the beginning with the more tropical fruity flavours, then you get a wee bit more of the mosaic-y notes out of it as well. Later on, the more mosaic-y orangey notes. So yeah, it's an interesting one. This it is a really interesting one. This, and I would still say I think this is one of the ones that Boundary have designed to be a bit more sessionable and a bit more drinkable. They've probably got a few more IPAs that are a bit kind of crazier and bolder and stuff like that. But it is a nice beer, and it is well crafted. You can't ask for much more than that. In terms of the mouthfeel, then. Yeah, I would say that this one is mid-bodied, straight in the middle of the spectrum. The mouthfeel overall comes across as being a little bit, it comes across as quite wet, but also very clean, if that makes sense. You get good quality water over in Ireland, of course, just as you do in Scotland. But yeah, the mouthfeel overall is quite wet and quite clean. Carbonation's quite smooth in this one. If we're talking about IBUs, I would say that this one is about 20-25 IBUs. There's not a lot of bitterness in this one. It's not going to blow the head off you in terms of the bitterness. But you do have a very, very nice, you do have a really nice kind of malty base to this one. As I say, it's quite smooth, but it becomes a little bit more grainy the further you go into the aftertaste, and a nice little bit of a soft, juicy fruitiness to this one. Quite tropical in the beginning, but a little bit more oily and citrusy the further you get into the beer. But yeah, I think that sums up this beer really quite nicely actually. So yeah, have a go at this one if you do get the chance, and I hope we see more Boundary Brewing beers over here, and it'd be nice to see Farmageddon and Northbound making their way out here as well. I'd love to see more Northern Irish and Republic beers making their way out to out to Systembolaget here in Sweden. Generally across Scandinavia and in Europe, it would be nice to see Irish beers and Scottish beers actually a little bit more regular. We only really get Innocent Gun, Belhaven and a Brewdog out here actually, although there is a Vault City coming very soon from what I understand. So yeah, it would be nice to see the Irish and Scottish beers getting out there a little bit more here in Scandinavia, so it was definitely nice to see that Boundary Brewing Company had released a beer. Like I say, I think this is the first ever Northern Irish craft beer that's made it to Sweden, so pretty damn cool to be able to review this one for you. But yeah, lovely, light, easy going, nice and drinkable New England IPA this one, so thumbs up to Boundary Brewing Company for this, and I do hope that I can try a few more of their beers over the next little while. I need to try some different styles from these guys and get a proper feel for what they're all about. So yeah, I'll keep an eye out for these guys the next time I make it home to Scotland, and we'll see what we can do. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Boundary Brewing Cooperative. Do let me know some other Northern Irish breweries that I should be checking out as well. Because as I say, I don't know how the scene has evolved over the last little while, but I imagine it's in a positive direction. But yeah, thank you again for watching my reviews. Please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff, and I will catch you guys very, very soon with another review. It won't be 3 years until you see another Northern Irish review, I can guarantee you of that, and hopefully we can get more Northern Irish and Republican Irish beers on the channel over the next little while. So yeah, thanks again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. This one was the Forever Ago, really nice 6% New England IPA from Boundary Brewing Cooperative in Belfast in Northern Ireland. Slàinte, skål, cheers, catch you guys very soon.